Hey, I'm Carlos Garcia, and today we're finally getting into my top RYEs of 2024. I know it's like March by the time you guys probably see this. I'm recording this at the end of February. But it's Friday, and I want to do some rye blinds. So today is what it was supposed to be was like my favorite non-allocated ryes of 2024. But then I found out that they're all single barrels. So I was like, I don't know, non-allocated and single barrels, whatever. One of these isn't, I'm going to guess it's this one because it's the lowest proof. Some of these are really high proof, but there's a Knob Creek 10-year rye in here that really did well in an earlier Whiskey Cigar Club. It actually won the whole lineup against some pretty heavy hitters. So I'm pretty sure it's this one because, again, basically in proof order. My wife poured these blind for me. One's 100 proof, this one. And then I think the next one's like 116, 119 or something like that. So it's a big jump. But if it is the Knob Creek 10-year, it's a good starting point. Get my palate warmed up for the rest. And I kind of want to compare it to the rest anyways to see if any of them, if this one even is on the level of any of these other ones. So let's get into the nose. So A on the nose is very bourbon forward and not a lot of rye notes in there. Like if I'm doing this blind, but I know they're all ryes. If I didn't know this was a rye, I don't think I would think it's a rye. It's a little oaky. It's very like bourbony, right? Like I'm saying. So oak, caramel. There's a slight rye herbally note, but there's a strong wet oak note. So that's A. And that's probably why I did so well because it's a very bourbon forward rye, a bourbon lover rye. B on the nose. Okay, so B on the nose, very unique and complex nose. There's a lot of different red fruit there and brown sugar sweetness, but there's also that rye dilly note in the background. So there is rye notes, but it's sweet and red fruit along with it. Pretty good nose. I do like that nose. So C on the nose. Okay, so C on the nose is light. It's not very in your face, but there is a little bit of banana bread and a little bit of peanut butter in there. So very interesting nose for a rye. And go D. Okay, D is very similar to C. It's a touch darker nose. It's kind of hard to explain the color, but it's just I don't know. It's darker. There's a little bit more red fruit in it. Okay, E on the nose. Interesting. E, I don't get rye notes on it either. That's supposed to be like a rye thing. Well, on the palate maybe. But red, Jolly Rancher, and oak. It's very candy sweetness on the nose. Okay, F on the nose. Okay, so F on the nose is the most rye forward nose. Herbal rye, but there's a caramel sweetness that kind of round off those rye notes, but it's the most rye forward. All right, let's get into palates. A on the palate. Ooh, come on the nose now. It's like a peanut butter on white bread. So A on the palate was a roller coaster of flavors. And it's one of those times where just like too much was going on that I was just trying to figure out the note, and then the next note coming, and I wasn't writing anything down. And by the time I was trying to figure out the next note, I forgot the last note. By the time my brain figured out that was happening, I started writing stuff down. It was on the finish. So I didn't write anything for the pasta for rye, but the finish was rye bread, oak, and chocolate. I'm gonna try it again, but this has a long finish, still there, kind of a little watery. I'm gonna write that down actually because it is lingering. It's kind of like a watery, oaky note. This is so good and it's so complex. And if it is a Knob Creek 10-year, it's relatively cheap, and I still see it on the shelves. So if it is that, this is a great rye. Did I say any notes? I don't think I said any notes. Oh, Lord. So I wrote strawberry, peanut butter, oak, red fruit, and herbal on the palate. It's a roller coaster of flavors, and it's a long and good experience. Nothing off-putting about it. Third sip. I never anything new on the third sip. The one thing I would knock this on is that there's this oak note in there that isn't like my favorite oak note. I said watery oak before. It's kind of like that. It's like a watery oak that's kind of like in there a little bit here and there. And it kind of finishes with that. But everything else is really good in that. That's a really good pour. Okay, so let's go to B. So B on the nose immediately was way stronger flavors than A. Like it was punching in your face, and that's probably partly due to the proof. I'm sure this is much proofier than A. And it was definitely more rye forward than A. I had clove and mint, and then there was a lot of caramel to kind of bring the sweetness around the rye, and then it finished with rye sweetness. I'll give it a second sip, see if anything changes. So B, the only thing new I wrote was the finish had some chocolate. Maybe that was that sweetness I was thinking about before. This is definitely more of a rye lover's rye. Basically, it's a strong rye at a higher proof. It's good though, very good. But I think if you're like one of those people that hate ryes, I don't think this is going to be your jam. Third sip. So third sip, we got a couple more new things. Chocolate on the palate and red fruit on the finish. So you actually started getting less rye, and I mean that's my palate just adjusting to the rye spice and starting to pick up some of the other flavors in there. That's just a very, very good rye. And it is rye forward, but I think if you give this a couple sips, even if you aren't a big rye person, I think this is a really good one for you. Not sure how available it is, but I don't know which one we're drinking there. Okay, let's go to C. Well, I'm going to have to adjust to that one. That was proofy. And it's possible that this is way proofer than this one. I got some peanut butter, some oak, a little bit of banana, but that proof really took over. So definitely one that I'm going to have to get adjusted to. Let's see on the second sip. Man, this one goes for a while. Okay, so C. Now I'm already adjusted at least a little bit more to the proofiness. I didn't get that much proof. I got a lot more flavors. This is really viscous, oily, great mouthfeel. I got, I said banana last time, more red fruit on the palate, and on the finish, cocoa powder, like Nesquik, and raspberries. So, pretty tasty. Not that much rye notes, though, on C. Third sip. Okay, so C, because I said how I didn't really get any rye stuff, so I was specifically looking for rye notes. And the rye notes are, pine, mint, herbal, rye spice, like rye bread. There's a couple things that I look for, at least, that kind of indicate myself that this might be a rye. I did get a little bit of rye spice, but I didn't get anything really besides that. So this is definitely like a bourbon lover's rye. So it's probably a low rye mash bill. D. Interesting. So D is like C, but like not as complex. I only wrote red fruit for the palate, which definitely had more than that. But what's happening is the proof was starting to build. Like I was about to write how this wasn't as proofy as this. And then the proof just kept like going up and up and up, like in the palate. But I did get some cocoa powder on there. So let's see what the second sip does. So D, I got some oak and caramel, so like more bourbony notes. Still, this is very, again, not a rye forward rye. There was a little astringency on the back palate. Just a little bit. Nothing that was too off-putting, but like when you're comparing things and you need to see which one's better than the other one, that's definitely going to be a knock against it. But third sip, see what happens. Once again, that proof is building up on the finish. Like it's getting proofier. On the palate, strawberry. Get some herbal notes, so the rye is starting to show a little bit more. It's not my favorite out of the four, the first four anyways. And between that herbal note and that kind of little bit of astringency, there's a little bit of like kind of funky oak in there too. My least favorite out of the four, first four. E on the palate. That was a ride. That was very interesting. So E started off like red fruit, cherries, red Jolly Rancher, like sweet and red fruit. And then this funky oak came in, and I was like, okay. And then the proof just came in like a wrecking ball. Like it became very proofy. And then the finish was that funky oak and proof. It did linger a while, but it was basically that funky oak and proof note. Try again. More of the same. It wasn't as proofy this time. I was getting used to it. I did get some rye notes, herbal and pine. Starting to gather that I like more ryes that aren't so rye, because these are the ones that I picked as my favorites for the year. And besides this one, they've all been pretty bourbon forward. Third sip. Yeah, so third sip, the rye is starting to show a little bit more on E. Whew. The proof just like came out of the right side of my mouth all of a sudden. It's like, here I am. Wow. Oh yeah, that's an interesting pour, this one. It's complex. That funky oak is, it's not an off-putting oak. It's just funky. I don't really know how to explain it any more than that. Just a different type of oak. F on the palate. All right, so F, which I would assume is the proofiest. I actually didn't drink proofy at all. But it's definitely a more rye forward. Rye, earthy, finish was bright cherry and sweet. There was a lot more notes to this, but this is one of those that it's complex. I was enjoying it. I was kind of waiting for the proof to come in and kick my butt, but it never came. So a second sip for sure on this one. That is so damn good. The palate is very complex. So I got that rye earthy notes from the first time, and I got it again the second time. I got some black licorice notes, and if you guys know, if you don't know about me, I hate the black licorice note, but it was just there as a kind of a complimentary note as opposed to like the note. Caramel, red Jolly Rancher. That proof started to come into in the finish, but it's definitely not as proofy as this one, or I think this one over here. Maybe by this point my palate's just shot and it's like whatever proof you're feeding my tongue doesn't matter, but it definitely doesn't drink as hot as this one for sure. There's it. Yep, okay. It's very good. It's very complex. Very good. The only new note though I wrote was chocolate. It's just very enjoyable. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to A-B all this stuff. Well, I'm going to drink some damn water. We'll go away for a couple of minutes, come back and A-B some of these, and then come back with some scores. I'm back. Wow. These were very good. Very hard to score them. So I scored them before I figured out what they were. You guys knew we were drinking, so let me go over them at the same time. So I did get a few different new notes while I was going back and forth. So let's start with my last place. And none of these are really my last place. These are basically some of my top, 10 ryes of 2024. So they're all very good. And some of these, this one, this is my third or fourth bottle of this. So you may be like, oh, you only had a little bit of it. No, I've had a lot of this. So my last place with a score of 3.65 is actually this one. So this is the 13th Colony cash strength rye, 140 proof. It's 8.5 years old, right? Yep, 8.5 years old. 13th Colony just got to Connecticut, distributed to Connecticut in 2024. So the first time I ever picking up any of these 13th Colony things. So this was probably a higher score, but when I was going back and forth, the one thing that I kept noticing on this was that this was drying the side of my tongue. That with that funky oak note kind of brought down its score. So that's why I came in last, but still very good. A good combination of rye notes and sweet and fruity notes. So then we'll go to 5th place, which is this one. So this is a Jack Daniel's single barrel proof rye at 134.9 proof. It has all the information. I'll show you guys. Hopefully it's not too bright. And then like all the next stuff. And I'm going to try to make sure I put all that stuff throughout the video in case you guys can't see this, but you guys will know all the information. Any new notes on this? Okay, so this one actually probably scored higher than I thought because I had that little astringency that I thought was going to bring it lower. But again, going back and forth, I got a lot of red Jolly Rancher candy notes, so a lot of sweeter notes, and that kind of brought it up a little bit. These probably switched, you know what I mean? So then, in 4th place, the Knob Creek Rye 10-year, 100 proof, and this is the new release that just came out last year, and let me tell you, this is really good. If you haven't got this, I'm sure this is, get off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Like around 50, 60 bucks, 10-year rye. It's very good. And the new note I got on this was roasted peanuts. So I remember this. Right after drinking some water, took a drink of this, and it was just like a flood of roasted peanuts in my mouth. Sorry. But Knob Creek is known for that peanutty note, so I guess I got it then. Now we go to my top 3. So, another Jack Daniel's, and you might be wondering, like, why do you have 2 up here? These bottles have been killing it for me since they came out. So I think in 2023 they came out, and that was like my favorite rye that year. I have a bunch of these. I picked these up in 2024, so 2024. This is 2023 on it, so I don't know, maybe it was somewhere, I don't know. It didn't win anyways. But this is a local store pick, Conti's. It is 130.2 proof. So you have a little neck tag, but this was also a charity event. So this was to raise some money for breast cancer awareness. So, what does it say on there? Charred barrel and the riders for the Lost Tatas. So a nice little tater sticker on there. Oh, did I tell you the scores on any of these? Possibly, I don't know. Okay, last place was the 13th Colony, 3.65. The regular JD single barrel shelfer basically is 3.75. The Knob Creek was 4. This one I scored a 4.25. Again, all the scoring is 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, and cost isn't part of that price, just taste. Okay, so then it comes down to these 2. Both of these are picks. This one was picked by my buddy Matt Fishies. I don't know if he wants his last name out here, but actually, what does it say on the pig? Orange County Bourbon Society. Wait a second. Oh, hold on. Okay, I'm back. So I didn't notice that the little sticker on it changed. So this says Orange County Bourbon Society. The one the original one, or couple I had, said Matty Fish Sticks on it. So, see what I'm talking about. So, you know I'm not going crazy. But the back of the label, this is an empty bottle, are exactly the same. Barrel number 55, whatever bottle number out of 195, age 8 year, 10 months, bottle 9/23/24. 111 proof. So this is, anyways, not that you guys care. I was a little surprised to see the sticker change, but this is Subtle Spirits. We don't get this in Connecticut. Matty Fish Sticks did a pick of this out in California. Sent me a bottle of this. This is like $100 plus shipping. It's MGP juice, MGP rye. So very good. And I scored that. I don't know why. I'll put that over there. I scored that a 4.35. So my winner is this one that I picked up towards the end of the year. This is 141 proof Nulu whiskey. It was picked by a local liquor store over here, Universal. This is also got some crazy, those 8 years, 6 months. So it has this like the hazmat, like tag, right? So you see that? And then on the back has a nod to, you know, Simpsons. But that's a cool little tater sticker, a little hazmat sticker. My wife is trashing our kitchen, no big deal. I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but. So I scored this a 4.5. Now, to be completely honest, when I was going back and scoring them, these two were the most rye forward out of the 6. And when I was scoring them, this was my third one, right? This one might have tasted better on most days. However, since this is a rye blind flight, I wanted to make sure that, or I wanted to see like what good ryes were better than other ones. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say here is like, I wanted to make sure that I was picking ryes as my winners. So these were like the best ryes of 2024 in the non-allocated category for me. But would I pick this one over one of these two, like on just like a regular day? Probably. But these are more complex because of the intricacies of that rye. Hope that makes any sense to anyone. Oh, shoot. I kind of remembered. Giveaway. If you want to enter to get 2-ounce samples of all 6 of these, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and write a comment with the hashtag SB Rye. Hashtag SB Rye for single barrel rye. Easy. Try to make the hashtags like short. All right, I think that's everything. I hope if you guys had this, let me know what you guys think about. If anyone had this, any kind of Soul Spirits rye, it's not a brand I'm very familiar with. Obviously, they're sourcing from MGP. I'm pretty sure Nulu is too. Don't know that off the top of my head, actually, but I'm sure I'll put something on the thing. Actually, hold on. Okay, so I looked it up. So this is MGP. This is actually basically the same thing. This is MGP 955 rye. This is MGP 955 rye. This is 8 years, 10 months, and this is the 8 years, 6 months. This is just much higher proof, and maybe that's why I liked it better. Also, when I was looking it up, because I went to the liquor store's website to look it up, this glows in the dark. This image glows dark, so maybe I'll try to put that up there for you guys somehow. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyways, that's that. Do all the stuff. Don't do nothing stupid. And if you do, don't get caught. Bye.